Hello, I'm Mark Foster, and this is a demo of RepoLinks, my submission to the TigerGraph Graph for All $1 Million Challenge. As an organization grows and scales, it can be easy to lose sight of all the technologies that are being used by the various development groups. In addition, software developers can get siloed into separate teams and feel out of touch with their peers. This has been particularly true with developers working from home during the pandemic. RepoLinks solves these problems by leveraging data and connections an organization already has hidden in their GitHub repositories. For this demo, I thought it would be fun to use TigerGraph as the test organization. I obviously only have access to TigerGraph's public repos, but there are enough to make it an interesting demo. A key component of RepoLinks is the GitHub export script, which takes an organization name as a seed parameter. I'm going to go ahead and open a terminal session, and then I'm going to run this with a parameter of TigerGraph. What it's doing right now is reaching out to GitHub's API and finding all of the repos associated with TigerGraph, all the contributors, and all the languages. And now if you look over here, we can click on these and see all the contributors, the organization, which is TigerGraph, the languages associated with each repo, the repos, and the users. Okay, so here we are in TigerGraph. I've already taken the liberty of loading all the data in. So if you look at our schema, we have a user, organization, and then we have a repo, and we have a language. Users contribute to a repo, an organization owns a repo, and then a language is associated with a repo. So the first thing I want to look at is just the organization. Not terribly interesting if you just pull that up. But now, because we have it in TigerGraph, I can double click on this. So now we can see a fan out of all of the repos associated with TigerGraph. Let's look at one of these. Let's look at TigerGraph Ecosys, for example. I'll double click on that vertice, and now we see all the contributors associated with that particular repo, and we can see all the programming languages associated with that repo. Now let's go ahead and see what we can do with programming languages. Now I can see all the programming languages that are associated with TigerGraph, the whole organization. So you might say, Mark, well, we can already see that in GitHub, but let's take a look at that and compare. So if we look at the TigerGraph organization in GitHub, you notice there's Go, C++, Java, Shell, JavaScript, and that's it. But if we look in TigerGraph, because we actually now have the data loaded, we can see there's actually a lot more programming languages associated with the organization. If I double click on Python, for example, we can see the Pythons used in 4 of the repositories. Another cool feature in TigerGraph that will give us additional insights in our repo links here is the graph patterns. So I created a graph pattern called user language that's going to associate users with programming languages. And I'm going to go ahead and put in a GitHub user ID here that I know is a contributor, and then hit run pattern. And this gives us an interesting view into what this particular user is using as far as programming languages. So it doesn't necessarily guarantee that this user has touched all of these programming languages, but it at least tells us that this user has contributed to repos that have these programming languages in them. So if we can zoom in on this a little bit, we can see that this user contributed to this Antora UI project, and that Antora UI project is related to JavaScript. It also touches handlebars and CSS. So this is providing some pretty cool insights. So the last thing I wanted to show you in Explore Graph is how 2 users are related. So this is the type of thing you could use as an icebreaker. You want to see how one developer is connected to another. So I put in a GitHub user ID here and another one here, and I'm going to do show all shortest paths. And then I selected all the vertices down below. So I'm going to go ahead and click find paths, and we can see that these 2 users share a connection to this particular repo. So you might be able to say, hey, Daniel and Lenny, you both worked on the Antora UI project together. Do you want to connect? So that would be a way to do something similar to what LinkedIn does, where they connect people by previous work history or schools or location. And that's it for my demo. Thank you so much for watching.